What's up, everyone? This is Casey. Welcome back to the channel. So today's your stimulus update and stimulus package update for August 30th, 2020. And we got a lot to cover, so let's just going to hop into this. So the negotiations between Mark Meadows and Nancy Pelosi have restarted. Excellent news. They started talking again last week, and they haven't really spoken since August 7th. That was the last time the negotiators met about a relief package. But it appears as of last Thursday, they have started resuming negotiations in the afternoon. But since they have spoken, quite a bit has happened in terms of the relief. What we've seen is the president sign a lot of executive actions, which entailed basically giving payroll tax relief. He has signed a moratorium on evictions. He has signed also a delay on having to pay back the student loans. And we've also seen an extension of unemployment benefits for $400, which is great. In addition to that, the House of Representatives, they passed relief for the USPS service. There's been a lot of concern as to whether or not the USPS is going to be properly funded for the upcoming elections to ensure that people can send their votes in a timely fashion. And so they've been able to fund that, and that's great. And even on top of that, there's even been talks of a skinny relief bill. But not really until last week was there any real activity on the broader package. So where are we? Well, the two sides still remain very far apart, and I wouldn't exactly expect a breakthrough, I would say, this coming up week, but we may see some. It's still a first step on a very long road towards getting a bill that both sides will agree on. Now, what are some of the huge sticking points? Well, for starters, it's the total cost. Now, if you guys are familiar, the Democrats, they want a relief package that costs more than $3 trillion. Now, they did pass the HEROES Act back in May, and that would have costed $3.4 trillion. And in the early negotiations, they did agree to lower their ask to around $2 trillion, but it doesn't appear that they're willing to go any lower than that. Now, the White House, with the secretary, they want a relief bill that's closer to $1 trillion, and they balked at the Democrats' offer of a $2 trillion package to the impasse. I think the real question everyone wants to know is, are we going to get a second stimulus check, right? That's what I want to know, and I'm sure you guys want to know that as well. And the straight answer is, I don't know. All of the talk right now that's in the news is that the stimulus check is now at an impasse. Now, one was included in the HEROES Act, and one was also included in the HEROES Act as well. But as of right now, we just don't flat out know whether or not there's going to be an additional stimulus check. Now, the positive news is that the Democrats have just flat out said, the latest is that Nancy Pelosi said they're not budging on the $2.2 trillion. They want that money. And the Republicans are like, well, we're not going to budge. Not only do we not want to pay the 2.2, and not only do we now not even want to pay the $1 trillion, we want to only pay $500 billion. And so they're at even further extreme points than they were 3 weeks ago. Now, the positive news is that the unemployment enhanced benefits, that is still on the table to continue to support people, because unemployment is still at a very, very high number. And if they don't do that, then I think there's going to be a lot of heck to pay. So, the HEROES Act, they extended the $600 per week unemployment through January 31st, but that hasn't been completely voted on and passed yet. So I think the consensus is going to still be around the $300 to $400 a week, very similar to what the president put into an executive action a few weeks back. So that's a really good deal. So what's next? Well, what's next is going to be one of the big priorities for the Democrats, which is securing the additional aid to the states. The funding for the states is a really big thing. Many states are in a very financial dire situation because of the sharp drop in the tax revenues. And with so many businesses closed or operating in diminished capacity, states aren't really collecting as much in sales tax as they normally would. And Republicans, on the other hand, they don't like the idea of sending money to states that have mismanaged their finances in the past. Well, if only we felt that way about large institutions on Wall Street. Did I just say that? Yeah, I did. One of the big financial issues is that many of the states have a huge pension funding gap. And as a matter of fact, the gap across all 50 states is like $1.24 trillion. So it's a big, big issue in terms of the funding for the pensions, which is really important, right? Because we need to ensure that people have the money when they're set to retire. And, the many Republicans, they see the additional aid to the states as another form of the bailout for financial mismanagement, as they say. and not a lifetime for states suffering for a pandemic, which is so interesting because I don't see them doing that same thing when it comes to businesses on Wall Street. If I'm not mistaken, I think Wall Street got trillions, not B with a billion, T with a trillion. They got trillions of dollars. And this money was supposed to be to help support the quote unquote economy and to maintain stability and to the financial markets. And they've done more than that. As of right now, the stock market is at all-time highs with the QQQ, which for you guys don't know is a tech ETF. Apple is at an all-time high. Apple has split as of officially tomorrow. Actually, it's technically split, but you really can't buy it until tomorrow. Tesla has split. These institutions have gotten trillions of dollars. The Federal Reserve has stepped in and they've decided that they're going to give these companies, they're going to buy back a lot of their bonds, which basically is what they do with the United States as well, to where when they want to pump money to the economy or pump money to a company, they buy the countries, in this case the U.S., they buy the bonds to put money to the economy. And they did that with the United States, and they also purchased a lot of corporate bonds as well. And they provided a lot of support for even like junk bonds for companies that were really on the ropes. And they just pumped so much money into the financial markets to where, companies don't even know what to do with all this money. And the crazy thing about that is that this money it's forgivable. So it was initially supposed to be loans, but turns out that a lot of it, they don't really even have to pay back. So there hasn't been really any hesitations about supporting businesses and banks, but what about the people, right? I mean, here we are on August 30th, 2020, and we have a ridiculous amount of unemployment. We have people that were laid off with no fault of their own, who were just trying to put food on the table and provide for their family. And, it's great that we had the unemployment benefits that got extended and enhanced over the past few months because that was necessary. But we're still in this kind of conundrum to where we have a lot of inflation that is now taking place because of all the money that they pumped to the economy. So what we have now is we have a lot of people who are laid off, and we have significant inflation that's going to take place because of all the liquidity that's being pumped to the markets and the fact that the dollar is being really devalued significantly more than what it would be. And so what that means is that either A, you're laid off and you need to get a job ASAP, which we need, companies to start doing more hiring. And then the people who are savers in this kind of market who aren't investing, well, if you're just saving your money and you're not investing it, you're losing money because all of the inflation is devaluing the dollar. And so really we're in a situation right now that we're the only ones that are really benefiting are people who are investing, large businesses, large corporations and things like that, and the people still need help. So I really do hope that Congress kind of gets it together. I hope that they are able to come to the table this week. Hope that they can come to some type of agreement on negotiations on the package. I would still love to see a second stimulus check sent to all of the Americans who are making a certain amount of money. I do think that while the $1,200 stimulus check isn't going to be a huge deal, it's not going to make or break anyone. I do think that it's a very small gesture that Congress can do just for the inconvenience and for the suffering that people have had to endure from the layoffs and from the stress of having to try to find work again and to be laid off. Now, with that said, what isn't negotiable is they are going to have to include these unemployment benefits. They're going to have to extend this. And the way that the economy is looking right now, I think we're going to probably have to have these extended all the way until next year, but at least until the end of the year, which is in December. So we're looking at September, October, November. We're looking at least 4 months, probably even sooner than that. Now, a lot of this all depends on how this whole situation goes with the pandemic, right? So, we're kind of transitioning out to where I think we're kind of accepting our new norm. It looks like businesses and things are opening back up again, and movie theaters and so forth, and children are going back to school. But heaven forbid, if we have a second outbreak and it's even worse than the first and we have to go back to another shutdown again, well, we are going to need Congress to really intervene and to really, really step up and ramp up with these stimulus packages because we have to have it. So that's the latest, guys. I wanted to kind of give you the breakdown of not only where we stood, but kind of what my opinions are on where we are and what I think that they're going to do and just kind of how I think we're going to transition into this new norm. So if you guys haven't already, I highly recommend that you guys subscribe to the channel. So this is a financial education channel. So I talk a lot about investing and saving and brokerage accounts and all sorts of things like that. And also a lot of financial news that comes online. But as of late, I have been talking a lot about the stimulus updates because that's very important. So hopefully you guys found this very valuable. As promised, I really only want to make videos with these that have actual substance and content. So hopefully you guys found this valuable. If you do, please make sure you guys smash the like button. Please also make sure you guys leave a comment as well as to whether or not you all are looking forward to the second stimulus package and to whether you think we need it and if it's going to help. And make sure you guys stay tuned to the next video. And other than that, I will talk to you later. Take care.